Mo.
Let Sacks go, Mo.
Let's sack Anastasia Pale shit.
I was regional winner, South East Queensland Nurse of the Year in 1983. I then went on into international flying as a flight attendant with Qantas for 10 years. My medical experience utilised in flight on many occasions. They just love us nurses. The last 20 odd years I have worked in private practice in GP clinics and super clinics. As you notice, this is our Australian flag, but it's upside down. That means Australia is in distress. Our healthcare system is in distress. Anastasia Palaszczuk, where in Queensland is the pandemic? If you can stand down 7,000 healthcare workers because they have decided their own healthcare over not being jabbed with the COVID-19 injection. You would expect all hands on deck. Anastasia Palaszczuk, where in Queensland is the pandemic? If you can quarantine healthy young people for 2 weeks, double vaxxed with a negative PCR test in a Gold Coast hospital. You would think we had a bed shortage. Where is it, Anastasia? Healthcare workers demand that this government dissolve an appalling, irrational, irresponsible vaccine mandate and reinstate all workers. Healthcare is between you and your doctor. It is not between your doctor and the government. Mr. Morrison, you have said that we live in a democracy and we have freedom of speech, but your very own brother, Alan Morrison, who is the co-deputy chair of AHPRA, the governing body of health professionals, put a gagging order on doctors and nurses in March this year. AHPRA has not allowed any doctor or nurse to speak up regarding the COVID vaccine and their ill effects of it. And if they did, they were threatened with the loss of their registration. So now, we nurses and health professionals are going to speak out. They have risked everything to make a stand. Nurses and healthcare workers are forced to choose between their health and their career. A career they have given their lives to, spent thousands of dollars on HECS fees, and for what? I call on all vaxxed and unvaxxed nurses, doctors and allied health to come out from behind the curtain and stand with us against this medical apartheid. This government is creating in our country an atmosphere of division, fear, confusion, anger and deceit. There are many good healthcare workers, but what makes them great is that they have the courage of their convictions.
He's a currently licensed GP. He's had enough. It's taken him a lot of courage to get up here and have a chat with you guys, so give him a round of applause.
All right. So just for the occasion, because I figured that this is probably going to be the last time I get to dress up. So if anybody wants that.
He's ready somewhere.
15 years ago, I pledged that the health and well-being of my patient will be my first consideration. I will respect the autonomy and the dignity of my patient. I will maintain the utmost respect for human life. I will not permit considerations of age, disease or disability, creed, ethnic origin, gender, nationality, political affiliation, race, sexual orientation, social standing, or any other factor to intervene between me and my duty and my patient. I will respect the secrets that are confided in me,
Really?
even after the patient has died.
So what is
I will practice my patient. I'll practice my profession with conscience and dignity and in accordance with good medical practice. I will foster the honour and noble traditions of the medical profession. I will give to my teachers, colleagues and students the respect and gratitude that is theirs. I will share my medical knowledge for the benefit of the patient and for the advancement of healthcare. I will attend to my own health, well-being and abilities in order to provide care of the highest standard. I will not use my medical knowledge to violate human rights and civil liberties. Even under threat. I make these promises solemnly, freely, and upon my honour. And for 15 years, I have done my absolute best to live up to that oath that I gave. And I can't do it anymore. I've been, where I forever, I have put what people want and consenting to what they want, and I've always put that first and considered that and discussed that. What about my autonomy and my dignity? Why don't I get to choose whether I want a vaccine or not? I've given my life to my profession, and I've lost my job basically because I didn't want to have a vaccine.
Guys, this is the ex-president of the ABN. She's happened to have a couple of crazy stacks lately, so we haven't seen her for a while, but she's back to have a chat. I'm glad to see her.
I would firstly like to thank Anastasia Psychopath for bringing us all here today. It's not under great circumstances, but it had to happen. As Tristan said, I was the president of the AVN for 2 years. I retired from that in April of this year because I couldn't do 40 hours of activism a week anymore. I don't know how many of you know we had the Vax bus touring Queensland and New South Wales last year, getting vaccine injury stories. That was incredible. Thank you, A Current Affair, for your hit piece. We couldn't buy that type of advertising if we tried. And if you ask, no, they did not contact us for comment, and when we demanded write a reply, strangely they didn't answer. You're stunned, I know. Or you crazy right-wing conspiracists. You know what's funny? That's the least offensive thing I've ever been called. I've been called a baby killer. I've been told I'm worse than pedophiles. I've been told I'm a terrorist, all for standing up for the most marginalised people in Australia, the vaccine injured. And we're here today fighting segregation, but I'm going to tell you there's already segregation in Australia and has been for several years. After no jab, no pay passed federally, and we have no jab, no play in many states in Australia, unvaccinated children, even if they've had almost all the vaccines, if you just don't go to the schedule, unvaccinated children in Australia don't have the same rights as vaccinated children, regardless how healthy they are. And we stood up and we had rallies, and there was actually a Senate inquiry and we flooded that, but we all got ignored. So, I'm sad that we didn't stand up for the children then, but I'm glad we're all here standing up for them now. And you think the COVID vaccine's bad? Just have a look look through the history of vaccines, take a bloody good look. Read books like Evidence of Harm and things like that. Join the highwire.com and see the vaccine project. All vaccines are terrible. The corruption is just the same. And the injuries have been covered up for years. The parents have been gaslit. They go in with a healthy baby. And, now they're going to normalise heart attacks in children. People are like, they can't do that. They've normalised totally normal babies dying in their sleep, and they called it SIDS. They've normalised toddlers that stop talking and walking and lose all their skills, and they call it regressive autism. You better believe they'll normalise heart attacks in children, because that's what they do. That's how the machine works. So I have known for many years, sadly, that you cannot trust the mainstream media on anything. Nothing they say is true. The politicians do not give a single damn about you. They certainly don't give a single damn about your children. Last year we hugged our way around Queensland and we saw some of the most horrific stories. And I have been a crazy anti-vaxxer. If you hear the phrase anti-vaxxer, picture a grieving mother or a mother with a disabled child, because that's who they are. They are ex-vaxxers who trusted the system with their children, and when the system screwed them, they got thrown under the bus. Or you do it for the herd, except if you trip and fall over, the herd will run straight over you and not look back. We're told that, it's necessary to protect everyone. Well, why aren't these children held up as heroes? It's because they don't want you to see what vaccines do to some children. They cannot allow that. If they let these mothers with vaccine-in children on television for 2 hours, the vaccine program would be gone. And the censorship is on steroids, yet look at this. This is incredible. I'm so proud of every single one of you. There's mothers with newborn babies, there's the elderly, there's everyone from every religion, everything. Led by white supremacist Tristan. He's my favourite white supremacist. Woo! We've been waiting for this moment. We've been waiting for people to come out. It's been a long, lonely fight, and we've never backed down. I have never backed down because these children matter. Their voices have been taken. Their lives have been stolen. I will never shut up. To all those who have lost their jobs holding the line, God bless every single one of you. I am so proud because I've had to sacrifice nothing so far. I can't imagine the choice of that. But that level of integrity is just, I bow down. That is incredible. Well done. So I don't know where this goes. I know it's huge all over Australia today, but regardless what happens in the future, you all hold your heads up high and you will go out and keep telling the truth, because love wins and truth will prevail.
Anita's been around for a long time doing this, guys. She's old school. She's one you can trust, and that's why I have her back when she's available. This is the time to show some courage and stand up for the kids of the future. If you can't do it, you're going to have a rocky future yourself. Our next speaker is Robert Brennan from the COVID Medical Network. He's been waiting patiently. Thanks for your patience.
Thanks very much, Ricky. There are people out amongst you, many of you who believe that this virus does not exist. I do. Probably. That's science speaking when I say probably, because we can never be sure. But that's okay, and some people out here would never be vaccinated against anything. But I have. But not this one. But that's still okay. And many people out here believe that this is a grand conspiracy, and others believe that it's just a monumental cock-up. I believe it's something of both. But it's okay what side of the line you come down on as to what is causing this madness. Why? It's okay to have a difference of opinion. Why? Because I want for you freedom and responsibility, and I would expect and I would suspect that you want the same for me. Freedom and responsibility. And the freedom that you have is not because Aristotle or Augustine or Aquinas or some elites at Nuremberg or an association of jurists at Syracuse or the government when they wrote up the Queensland Human Rights Act. It's not because they give you freedom. It is because your freedom comes to you in virtue of your humanity. It's not even for a doctor to give it to you. It's in virtue of your humanity. And, you know, it's the same when it comes to this vaccine. You don't need to prove your case. Many people here believe that the vaccine is incredibly harmful, that people will be dropping dead in their millions in the coming years. That may happen, that may not. But you don't need to give anyone a reason to refuse something. Let your no be no, let your yes be yes. If you feel that you need to give an explanation to someone, if you feel that pressure, they are already in your head. And this is the grandest psychological operation of all time, what's happened to us the last 20 months. You know, I used to drop this line, it's very funny. You know, the hardest thing about 2 weeks to flatten the curve is the first 20 months. Now, I've been using that line since we were 12 months in. It's not funny anymore, and unfortunately that line isn't old. Now, speaking of doctors, I represent a network of doctors. We are now in our thousands. Doctors, scientists, data analysts. We also have a fair few lawyers, and, well, you know, we all have different opinions on various things COVID, but we're all joined together in believing that this, and knowing that this response to this pandemic has been incredibly, monstrously disproportionate. It has been anti-humane, it has been anti-science, it has been anti-reality. But you wouldn't know that we exist except for our website. Why? Because if we say anything contra the narrative, if we say, for example, that these vaccines do not prevent transmission and so there is no communitarian argument that can compel you to take them, if we say, for example, that lockdowns are far more harmful than helpful, what will happen to us? We will have the Australian Health Practitioners Regulatory Agency down on us and we lose our ability to practice. It's happened to me, it's probably going to happen to Stacey, and it's happened to a few others since. So doctors are very well aware that we live in a culture of extreme censorship. This is no conspiracy theory. We didn't disappear out any rabbit hole. The rabbit hole came straight down around us, right? Now, speaking of the virus, at all of my community talks, I get the same story. Last year I was working in the hospital system and I kept on reading patient notes. I kept on reading, the patient has lost their job due to COVID. They've lost their marriage due to COVID. They're in economic ruin due to COVID. They're anxious and suicidal due to COVID. They're trapped behind a state border. They're isolated from their loved ones due to COVID. On and on and on and on it went. I found myself in the strange situation that I was the only medical practitioner who would write on their notes, due to government restrictions, due to the response to the pandemic.